In terms of West Bengal, though, the BJP defeated Mamata Benzuri, who had served as West Bengal's chief minister 15 years. She is a fierce critic and a key opposition voice in the country. Is this indicative now of the fact that Narendra Modi essentially has a clear pathway here, that he has managed to defeat one of his key opponents and critics?
I think so. The sense that I got when I had these conversations was that people don't really know what to do. I was speaking to an advisor of one of the big political parties over here in Mumbai, and he said that there's a sense that you've just been bulldozed and you really, really have no idea how to deal with this juggernaut, which is the BJP. And it's not just the BJP, because when you sort of contest against the BJP or the BJP shows up at an election, it's not just the party. It's a whole bunch of forces and agencies that sort of come and work together to make life very difficult for anybody else who is contesting elections.
Yeah, and it's in fact can be a dangerous development in a democracy. Again, oppositions in these kinds of democracies serve a huge role in terms of looking out for not just minority interest, but obviously as some kind of counter to government policy. Manjari herself, though, we're citing voter interference in this election. She's refusing to resign, accusing the BJP of, in her words, forcefully capturing those elections. I go back to what you said about bulldozing. It's not the same thing. Is there any evidence here that, in fact, she was cheated out of her rightful win in this election?
Well, look, when you look at the people who were taken off these voter rolls, I think I was reading some figures, and I think in some constituencies, up to about 90% of them were Muslim. And so you see this disproportionate representation of people who would not necessarily vote for the BJP being struck off the rolls. And that, I think, feeds into this larger fear of something called delimitation in India, which is, I guess, what Americans know as gerrymandering, which is essentially redrawing lines so that, I guess, your majorities are clearer and you tend to win more constituencies. So, yes, there is certainly a feeling among people that I've spoken with, and of course, politically, that it's not, and I have to choose my words very, very carefully here. It's not, you're not contesting on an even keel. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, interesting that you have to choose your words carefully. And I know you want to be precise in what you're saying, but of course it's fraught on the ground in India. I do want to talk about your book, The New India. You wrote it a few years ago, and it explores, of course, India's shift toward Hindu-nationalism and rising authoritarianism, obviously something that comes to the fore almost daily in Indian politics now. How much do you believe that this religious nationalism played a part in the election? And I go specifically to your experiences about whether or not Muslim voters were disadvantaged or in somehow excluded. Because I have also read, and correct me if I'm wrong, that some Muslim voters, in fact, did vote for the BJP.
Yes. This is something that comes up every now and then. I think when I was working on my book, and I focused a lot on, I guess, the Muslim lived experience in India. One of the things that I heard over and over again was that way back in 2014, just before Prime Minister Modi sort of became Prime Minister, there were Muslim families that voted for him. They were struck by his promises and the idea that India would sort of march forward. There would be development, the kind of development they hadn't seen in many years, and so yes, people did vote for him. There was also this feeling that, look, things can, there are systems, there are checks and balances, and things will never be as bad as people fear. And so, you count on these notional checks and balances and say that they will protect you, and you ignore a lot of other things. And so I feel like when I was talking to people about the way their families voted and what they think right now, the sense that I got was there is at some point regret at what they did. Now, this has happened in Bengal too, but at the same time, look, there is polarization. You just, every single day brings new instances of somebody threatening somebody along religious lines. Just this afternoon, I think yesterday, I was seeing a video of some party member saying that he would not do a single thing for Muslim voters because they did not vote for him. So you see things like this, and you should have heard the cheers. The cheers were incredible. When I say incredible, I mean unbelievable. Um, and so you see a lot of this happening, and it really is a familiar sight right now. Every
It's a
election,
fami-
something like this.